Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, very special guest. If you listen to my show, you'll know his name. It's John Brisson of We've Read the Documents, and I'm glad to have him back on a subject I don't know that much about. I've read something about it, but this kind of name popped up, this Brock Pearson association with Ian Carroll, who's done some stratospheric rise through the alternate media. And people say this guy's connected. He kind of came out kind of like an independent, but like I've heard people are starting to use the name Teal, which if you listen to my shows with John, we've done so many shows about the Technocracy, the Technocrats, and Teal. This came up on my social media. We had scheduled this last week, I think. This popped up on my social media today of Carol with Candace Owens. So I really like Candace Owens, actually. So I'm not trying to like cast aspersions on her. She's popped up because her book club is covering Chaos of Ed O'Neill's book, which I interviewed him in 2019. It's hard to believe this much time has passed. Which then the Netflix documentary came out. And so she's kind of on my radar for that. People are sending me stuff from her book club to my social media, like, hey, what do you think about Chaos? Because they know that I've covered it. Anyway, John knows he was sending me stuff of the stuff he covered. And this whole Dan, Brock, Pierce, Singer nexus gets really dark. And this might be, a sensitive topic for people. But it comes in because this guy, Carol's associated with some of these people, I think, and John can talk more about that. So, John Brisson, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, William, as always. Glad to be here on William Ramsey Investigates yet again. William, thank you for having me. And as I said to you, I exposed Brock Pierce and Den and Mark Collins Rector. Back when I used to do a show for Grimerica many years ago called Our Guys with one of my good friends and co-researchers, Jason. And so I had done a show on the life and crimes of Bryan Singer, which is when I had, Brock Pierce had become on my radar because of Bryan Singer's vast connections to DEN, which was Digital Entertainment Network, and I'll go more into that in a minute. But I had not really heard of Brock Pierce really until then, and so every time he has come up, and every time I've heard him over the past few years, which has been quite a few times, I've always took mental notes. I was like, okay, like Brock Pierce is definitely kind of in the kind of elite networks, kind of in the institutionalized pedophilia networks as well too. So definitely make note of Brock Pierce every time I come across him, which hopefully I have. We're going to talk about a lot of them on today's show and why Brock Pierce is relevant and why people should know who he is. But a lot of people may recognize, actually, if they saw a picture of Brock Pierce, maybe not so much now of how he looks, not really to say that, I'm not, I've aged just well too since my childhood photos, but Brock Pierce was, he was an actor. A lot of people might remember him as Gordon Bombay in the Mighty Ducks and D2, the Mighty Ducks as well too. So he was a very famous child actor in Hollywood. And so I do have some degree of sympathy for him because he was, I believe, groomed in Hollywood, but that doesn't excuse the allegations that were later brought against him and the suspicion that researchers have had continuing with Brock Pierce, later on, as an adult, right? Perpetrating or carrying on abuse is inexcusable even for those who are abused, right? So, I mean, we have Stephen Bannon connections with Brock Pierce. We have Eric Adams connections with Brock Pierce. We have Bod Lubavitch connections with Brock Pierce. We have United Nations. We have Peter Thiel. We have connections galore with Brock Pierce. So, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Digital Entertainment Network and Den?
Yeah, for people who haven't heard it, I know you covered it. I think Porkins Policy, you sent me a link to that too, or somebody did. But like, it was big news 5 years ago. Like, it was really kind of give people a basic overview if you can.
So, Pierce retired from acting around the age of 16 and later became a partner with Mark Collins Rector and Chad Shackley in establishing kind of like the first digital video, like almost like streaming service, for lack of a better words, known as Digital Entertainment Network. Now, very interestingly enough, it raised 88 million in venture capital money, and you'll see the number 88 a lot with Donald Trump, but you also see the number 88 a lot with Brock Pierce. 88 also being H, being the eighth letter of the alphabet, and being Heil Hitler when we're talking about in the white nationalist circles, and 88 also being 88 miles per hour in Back to the Future, right? If we're talking about the Trump references there. So it seems to be a reoccurring theme that Brock Pierce raises exactly $88 million for various venture capital things that he is, business ventures that he has going on, right? So
he's also a crypto millionaire or something.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that
Okay,
in his
okay,
connections
cool.
with Peter Thiel through Tether and through Block One. But so with Din, Din kind of did like episodes and like almost like basic streaming contest almost. It was like the first original video content platform before the wide adoption of broadband internet access. And so his first show was a kind of a pilot for gay teenagers called Chad's World. Okay. And you know, Din was making some pretty decent money. You know, Pierce was making I think it was around like $300,000 a year, roughly, when he had turned the age of 18. And Din kind of had a U.S. IPO offering of about $75 million, but was later withdrawn when there were sexual allegations made by three accusers against Mark Collins Rector. And I covered that significantly in the Archives podcast that's up on my channel. We've read the documents. If you just search for the life and crimes of Brian Singer, I'll go more. There's more in depth in there as far as the allegations and me reading the court depositions and everything like that. But you know, there is one that I can read right now of kind of like the extent of what was occurring, which was so this is from the deposition. Homosexual acts included physical manipulation of Michael E.'s genitals, physical manipulation of Michael E.'s genitals, of the genitals of Collins, Shackley, and Pierce, oral copulation of Michael E. of defendants Collins, Shackley, and Pierce, and anal intercourse performed on Michael E. by defendants Collins, Shackley, and Pierce. Michael E. was subject to each of these homosexual acts on multiple occasions from June 1998 through approximately March 2000, both while Michael E. was under the 16 years of age and under 18 years of age. Okay. So again, it's very, Pierce's age was roughly between the ages of 16 and 18. But Mark Collins Rector was much older. So it's
significant abuse, like abuse
yes,
was
very
taking
much
place.
so.
Yeah.
Very much so. And you have Mark Collins Rector being brought up on charges in the Northeast, and then later fleeing to Portugal. I believe it's Portugal.
Right. That's right.
And so to escape prosecution. So Mark Collins Rector definitely, was just
he's fleeing. He fled. Like it came down. I think both of the guys, Shackley and Rector, fled, if I remember correctly. Like they left.
Yes. So it was Spain, not Portugal. So Shackley and Pierce and Mark Collins Rector fled to Spain after a New Jersey Collins Rector was brought up on charges on August 2000. They transported minors across state lines for the purpose of molesting them. And then all three men were arrested by Interpol in May 17th, 2002. And Shackley and Pierce were released without being criminally charged. Guns, machetes, and child pornography were found at the house at the time during the arrest. And then Collins Rector fought extradition proceedings to the United States. He later returned to the United States after 2 years and pleaded guilty to 8 charges of child enticement and registered as a sex offender. He admitted luring 5 minors across state lines for sexual purposes. He received credit for time that he served in a Spanish jail and was registered as a sex offender under weekly supervision. And then later, Collins Rector got special permission to go to the United Kingdom for receive treatment for brain tumor in 2006. He then renounced his United States citizenship and not returned back to the United States to continue serving his kind of supervision, right, as being a sex offender, right? So, again, Mark Collins Rector, major scumbag, pedophile, and someone who helped kind of financed Din. You also have Brock Pierce founded. You ever heard of the game World of Warcraft? The PC game World of Warcraft, William? I played that when I was in college briefly, and afterwards. But there used to be able to buy gold there to buy things at the auction from kind of like Chinese sellers, right? Well, Brock Pierce had developed this company called Internet Gaming Entertainment, IGE, that was kind of like a MMORPG World of Warcraft gold kind of like selling currency like service, So if you played World of Warcraft during that time period, a lot of people who bought gold would have bought gold from Brock Pierce to Internet Gaming Entertainment, right? And so Brock Pierce went to CMP Stephen Ketamine Bannon, had brought him in. And to seek venture capital again, there's a lot of venture capital seeking with Brock Pierce, right? And so that he ended up working with Bannon and still friends with Bannon to this day. I mean, Bannon introduced him recently, I believe, at the Patriot Awards, I think was the place, or it may have been at Mar-a-Lago, one of the two. But him and Bannon are still close with each other, and also a silent partner, interestingly enough, of Internet Gaming Entertainment was Mark Collins Rector. So you have direct connections between Bannon, Mark Collins Rector, and Brock Pierce
after the allegations against them. So
correct, yes.
And Pierce is kind of a wonderkin. Like, he's doing all this at a very young age, early 20s, friends with Bannon. And these pictures that I'm showing too, if you're watching this on Rumble, Rockfin, or X, like, he's with all these guys, Ramaswamy. He's there with John Boyd, who's a known conservative influencer. Like, these are recent pics. Yeah. So, right. Wild to think about it. Yeah.
So, there you go. All powerful, connections there. And it continues with Brock Pierce. So Brock Pierce founded Blockchain Capital, was able to raise not 88, but $85 million of venture capital fund as well, too. And later was very important in the founding of the stablecoin Tether. Brock Pierce was actually a co-founder of Tether, and Tether also has had funding from Peter Thiel and Founders Fund, as well as Brock Pierce later co-founding Block One, which runs the EOS cryptocurrency platform. And Block One itself had also received funding from Peter Thiel and Founders Fund back in 2018. So there you go. Yet again, more funding by Peter Thiel directly for Brock Pierce's cryptocurrency ventures. Also too, I think it was in 2021 sometime that Brock Pierce went down to El Salvador and advised the Salvadoran government on the adoption of Bitcoin, right?
Which, so that's a huge issue, right? Bukele, sorry.
Yeah, Bukele's a very big promoter of Bitcoin and was president of El Salvador at the time, as well as Tether is actually moving its worldwide operation offices right now to El Salvador.
Wow, incredible. This is incredible. I didn't know all this stuff. This is amazing. My mind is blown. Like, this guy's been involved in all this crazy stuff. His ICO raised more than $4 billion. Like, he has to be. What's his net worth right now? Do you know?
I don't know offhand.
It says here, Pierce was named the top 20th wealthiest people in crypto with an estimated net worth between 700 and 1.1 billion.
I would assume he's still a billionaire. Yes.
Yeah, he's done fine.
And so, you know, you had the pressure of him resigning somewhat, or at least trying to get him to resign from EOS, from Block One, because of the Mark Collins Rector's allegations resurfacing. And Bryan Singer also was a kind of investor and promoter of Digital Entertainment Network. I forgot to mention that. And so much so that he did a spot advertising Digital Entertainment Network. And Bryan Singer is a famous Hollywood director, that was had directed X-Men, the newer X-Men movies. He was discussed in the documentary An Open Secret. However, I believe An Open Secret is a limited hangout because there are a lot of kind of connections between, for example, Bannon and Mark Collins Rector and Pierce that were left strangely out for some reason or another.
And who's the director, John? Who's the director of An Open Secret?
Well, there's two things about Open Secret, right? So you have the God, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on his name. The ardent Zionist.
Let's see if I can pull it up.
He's got me blocked. He's got me blocked on I can't believe I'm drawing.
Gabe Hoffman?
Gabe Hoffman.
Yeah, super aggressive guy. Yeah.
Yes.
He's like threatening to sue like everybody on earth or something.
Who's a strong ardent Zionist who like you said, threatening to sue everybody, supporter of Donald Trump, and so, there's been very shady Gabe Hoffman's been very shady, and people who've raised questions about An Open Secret and how An Open Secret doesn't fully discuss, or dives deep enough into Bryan Singer, as well as you have the director of Bryan Singer, who was Amy Berg. And so I don't know. It seems like a limited hangout to me. I hate to say it.
I would say if she's involved, it's a limited hangout. Do you know what else she's been involved with?
If I remember correctly, it's the cover up of the West Memphis 3, right? Or am I mistaken?
West of Memphis, 2012. So she did that before An Open Secret. So, and then the case against Adnan Syed, which I think was a limited hangout. Then she did one over about Jeff Buckley, which I didn't know about, but West of Memphis was kind of a joke. When that's the one where like they blame somebody else. It's a in my opinion, a love letter to Eccles, where at the very end of West of Memphis, he literally says this: "I aim to be the greatest magician who ever lived." Like that's literally what he said. I don't know how they included that in the documentary, why they did, because it gives him away. But yeah, Berg, and she went on this, like this is right after they got released. So it's like a year after their release, and she went on these like media displays where she's just like, there were big gargantuan snapping turtles. She literally said like primeval snapping turtles were responsible for the injuries. I mean, for me, it's just such a colossal joke. So I think of her, I don't think of her on positive terms at all. So
I don't either.
I bet she was hired to be a limited hangout if she's in An Open Secret. So even the title's kind of a giveaway. It's like, oh, this is all open, but it's really not. It's deceptive. That every time I saw Gabe Hoffman online, he was always disputing with somebody and threatening to sue them. So like I'd like lose track of his name for 9 months, and then he'd pop back up and he'd be in some argument with somebody else threatening to sue him. I'm not kidding at all. Like it's just like almost like he's like a stereotype of something or something.
Just someone questioning, An Open Secret, and An Open Secret not really outing Bryan Singer as much as Bryan Singer should have been outed and being a limited hangout. He gets ultra defensive about that. Very arrogant guy. Like I said, very ardent Zionist, very pro-Trump and MAGA. I again, like not a fan of Gabe Hoffman.
Yeah, me either. But these connections are really incredible. Like this guy is there. I mean, I just showed a picture of this guy Pierce with our current HHS, right? With Robert Kennedy Jr. Like it's off the charts.
Yep. And then here's something you can put on the screen as well too. Okay. Here, how early Peter Thiel invested in Block One and invested in Brock Pierce's ventures.
Oh, so he's directly involved. Wow. This is crazy.
For 2018, and then also with Den, circle back to Digital Entertainment Network, something I want to mention as well too was we'd mentioned off air about David Geffen's involvement with Den, as well as Bryan Singer. I mentioned Bryan Singer, but Michael Huffington, who was Ariana Huffington's husband, was also an original investor in Digital Entertainment Network as well too.
Wow. And Huffington, like, that was, I don't know, marriage of convenience for her. She was a very ambitious person. And Huffington was, I think, an heir to a good sized fortune. But there were always stories about that guy. I think she ran him for the governor of California at one point. But I think he was kind of like one of those reluctant politicians. I think his money helped him out a lot. And they spent a lot of money of his own money. And wasn't very successful. But the Huffington Post and all that stuff. So I'm not surprised. Like it's crazy, man. I cannot believe that this is all happening presently too. Like I lost track of Pierce. I didn't know that he was part of this huge cryptocurrency thing and that he was a billionaire now. Like, wow.
Yeah, and there's many pictures that you can bring up of him at Chabad Lubavitch, financing Chabad Lubavitch, the Jewish supremacist cult. You can actually just go to his Instagram. Just go to Brock Pierce's Instagram, and it'll tell you all you need to know about Brock Pierce.
Is he Jewish?
He claims not to be. He claims that he does not even. He's not even a convert to Judaism. But I beg to differ. He's frequently celebrating Shabbat dinners. He's giving a lot of money to Chabad Lubavitch. Eric Adams also is visiting the Rebbe's grave, Rebbe Menkheim Schneerson, and being friendly with Chabad, and everything. So I don't know, man. Like, he claims he's not, but I think he probably is.
Wild. I don't think he's a big, tall guy. He's not.
No.
He's diminutive. There's pictures of him all around with so many famous people. So let me go to his Instagram right now. Brock Pierce Instagram. Okay, let's see if this pops up. Oh, there he is. Yeah. 133,000. Oh, there he is. Adams. That's him. Yep. Funny orange hat. He likes his hats. There he is with the Rebbe. I don't know when that was.
And then so if you scroll down, he met with Council for National Policy member and Theosophist Michael Flynn as well too at a Shabbat dinner. Okay, that's so there's that. I mean, it's just there's a lot of connections between Brock Pierce, and it's like the more you dig, the more you find. Like he's been trying to raise money for Eric Adams, and Eric Adams just left the Democratic Party and looks like he's going to join the Republican Party when he runs for mayor again in New York City, and is saying that he was prosecuted like Trump, and recently just said that they tried to crucify him like they tried to crucify Jesus. He compared himself to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ as a blasphemer. But Brock Pierce has worked with Eric Adams for a while, and there's a news article that you could find out there where Brock Pierce was working with the New York Police Department in 2021 and Eric Adams' administration as mayor of New York City to unveil new gaming trucks to the Brooklyn school kids. So you have gaming trucks where they're bringing the Brooklyn school children in and they're hooking them up to Oculus and having them play virtual reality and play games and stuff like that. And that's sketch. It's sketch because it's coming from Brock Pierce. That's all I gotta say. It's sketch, And so Eric Adams is involved in that. He recently did a fundraiser for Eric Adams in Puerto Rico in December of 2024. And so Brock Pierce put forth a fundraiser for Mike Adams, is a good friend of Mike Adams. So there are various connections of Mike Adams directly with Brock Pierce and Brock Pierce platforming him. So it just doesn't end. Like the more you look, the more you find. It's not like the more you look, the less you find.
Right. No, it is really something else. Like these guys are networked. So he's kind of like Pierce is like with the money and connections. He's like becoming a kingmaker like Teal. So he's like supporting politicians now. I guess that's what happens, You have
Yes, and I
$1
would also
billion.
argue it's probably in the behest of Peter Thiel or Habad Lubavitch that he's this kingmaker. Especially with Thiel funding a lot of his crypto gains and his crypto companies, right? And Brock Pierce also mentioning that he is a futurist, and so you have kind of him being a techno optimist, transhumanist with Brock Pierce. And me just looking through his Instagram, like so it was at the Patriot Awards, is where Bannon introduced Brock Pierce as his good friend, his dear friend. He's very proud to introduce him as a patriot, right? So right here, Brock Pierce writes, "This last inauguration had the distinct privilege of presiding over the Patriot Awards, bestowing well-deserved accolades upon esteemed leaders whose noble dedication as fellow Americans serves as a guiding light for us all in building a brighter and more hopeful future for this great country."
Wow, that's crazy. Have you heard of? I heard there's rumors of Pierce being associated with Epstein. Have you heard that?
Yeah, but I need to substantiate that further.
Yeah.
But it would not surprise me at all.
Just looking online, there's a researcher who said he's connected to him, but he's wearing that red necklace that's associated with the Kabbalah here. Let me see if I can find that. I'll bring that up.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, let's see. And then there's like these ties to Carol. I mean, do we want to get there? Like this whole thing, we started off with a picture of Carol.
Yeah, so talking about the Patriot Awards, and the Patriot cryptocurrency, you have Dustin Stockton, who he was pictured with Brock Pierce and Vivek Ramaswamy and John Voight, who's also very much pro MAGA, right? Pushing the Patriot cryptocurrency forward, saying nobody cooks or trolls like a patriot. Well, Dustin Stockton is with Ian Carroll on the Club Maha podcast.
Gotcha. And this
directly.
Yeah. Wow, this is just crazy. So Carol's part of this network, right? I mean, is that safe to say?
I would say that he may be unaware of that he is, but yes, he is being platformed by the Brock Pierce friendly network of
this is it right here. So this is Club Maha, Dustin Stockton, who's pictured with Pierce, like he's friends with him. Like this guy who's Gabriel Cruz says, link between Brock Pierce and Ian Carroll via Club Maha and Dustin Stockton, Kyle Kemper is not being explained in any meaningful way. Club Maha gleefully posed next to a known creeper. Pierce hosts a show with Ian, but Ian says it's nothing. Wow.
Yeah, Gabriel Cruz did a good job exposing. He's got like a good infographic exposing them, as well as Boltzmann Booty. Shout out to Boltzmann; he did a good job. And Gumby for Christ all did good jobs, kind of bringing together a lot of Brock Pierce research. Some of it I covered myself, but shout outs to them anyway for kind of bringing it out on X.
And Lutnick, is Howard Lutnick the name of the new Treasury Secretary? Is that right?
So I believe if he's the Secretary of Commerce.
Secretary of Commerce, right?
Yeah, so that would be Lucky Lutnick of Cantor Fitzgerald 9/11.
Right. So he makes it through, right? He doesn't go to work that day or something. I don't know. What?
Yes.
Yeah, that's him. Wow. Did he get the call or something? How did he avoid?
I would assume he got the call. I don't know for sure, but I would assume he got the call. So and Brock Pierce.
Yeah, this is Lutnick's Wikipedia. Lutnick was scheduled to go into the office that day, but he had taken his son to kindergarten. His brother Gary did not survive. Wow.
Very sad. Yes, very tragic. But Lutnick was rewarded, right? So
Cantor Fitzgerald reportedly manages. This is Cowboy X. Cantor Fitzgerald reportedly manages Tether's $27 billion portfolio of treasury bonds. So that's Tether, right? So that's Tether. What's his name? Teal, right? Isn't that Teal and Brock?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Yeah. Wow, crazy.
And then you have Brock Pierce lecturing at the Singularity University, which is very transhumanist. And Brock Pierce now currently working for the United Nations as an OIJ senior advisor. When you look into the OIJ, it's kind of like the youth branch of the United Nations, right? So he's working with kids, for the United Nations as as a top advisor, right? Which is extremely sketch. I guess they didn't do any of their research or due diligence on Brock Pierce.
Probably
So,
not.
I mean,
Jello
no,
Jabroni says you only lightly brought up their underground pedo involvement. I don't know if it's underground. Is there more to something other than Den? Because Den was a huge scandal for me. Like this is a huge network.
I don't think I lightly brought it up. Was there anything that I missed outside of Digital Entertainment Network? I don't think Mark Collins. I mean, if in Bryan Singer, like I mentioned the three,
We
at
can
least
go.
the three known allegations that were brought against the Nexus as well too, and I talked about the convictions of Mark Collins Rector. So I don't know how I briefly went
I don't know
over it.
either. I'm all I'm saying is like we brought up the stuff that we know and that's verifiable. There's other rumors about Singer and grooming, and there was some story about grooming that took place on films. And there's other kind of sketchy things about Singer. I mean, there's pictures. I did research on Singer. He had these pool parties that he wasn't ashamed of, like having pictures of those bandied around, and they were very gay. They were super gay, like do like homosexual versions of like a Diddy party. Like these are known facts. So, I mean, and I think that there's allegations. I'm not saying this happened, but some of the kids they're people under 18. They're boys under 18. So,
And then you have the rumors too about Ben Savage and being at a party with Huffington, Michael Huffington, and David Geffen, swimming nude and playing with boys in a hot tub. So I'm not excusing I'm not excusing it, or am I not covering at least what I know of the institutionalized pedophilia with this network? And then of course you have Stephen Ketamine Bannon's, Russian Florida porn and meth house, right? If you want to continue the allegations with Bannon and the connections between these whole group, right? And so it never ends.
I think Ed Opperman did a show on that, and like the house was super janky, and like the bathroom is being used possibly to make meth, or I don't even know. I don't know what those stories are, but it's not above board. I mean,
no.
Yeah.
So I've done videos, more in depth about the life and crimes of Bryan Singer and the individual allegations, the many allegations brought against Bryan Singer, like William showed. It's on my YouTube channel, as well as I have Bannon's connections to the Bryan Singer nexus in a video I did on Bannon as well too.
So. And you have to be careful. You can only, you have to be truthful about these statements. You can't just make stuff up too. Like there's all kinds of rumors about these guys. I don't know verified, but like, yeah, why do you call him Stephen Ketamine Bannon? That seems to be like a thing amongst these rich guys is using ketamine. Have you noticed?
Well, because he was platforming ketamine through the MAPS Institute and Peter Thiel's involvement in funding ketamine clinics across the United States of America for soldiers to use it to get over their PTSD, which was pushed forth by the MAPS Institute and was pushed by Rick Doblin, who I call Rick Goblin. And so it's kind of like a continuation of Matthew North's research into the MAPS Institute. But yes, Bannon was a big shill for the use of ketamine on the behest of Peter Thiel.
That's wild, because I've heard that's what Musk does. He likes to do
yes,
ketamine.
I would believe that to be true. Yes,
that's a rumor. I'm not saying he does that. I've heard other people state that rumor. I think it was I can't remember his name, but Harris claimed that he was a ketamine user. So it's not me, but is that supposed to kind of give you it's like a downer, right? It's a depressant, or is it like a, I don't know.
It's a hallucinogen. It's if I remember correctly, it was used for veterinarian mainly primarily as horse anesthesia and tranquilizer, if I remember correctly. Um, but they're using ketamine in these clinics where they'll give you an infusion of ketamine, and they're actually combining them with Palmer Luckey with Oculus, right? So they'll put you in the
Right.
metaverse, they'll put an Oculus on you, they'll infuse IV ketamine into you, and then they'll say that you'll live 10 years of your life in 15 minutes when you're in a K-hole, okay, roughly. And so
Wow.
15 to 30 minutes,
Wow.
10, you roughly is what they say. So, because of that, you'll be able to work through your trauma, right? Your PTSD as being a soldier within that time period, right? And then when they bring you out of it, you'll no longer have PTSD, and they can jam a gun into your arms, making you practically a super soldier, right? Because they can just keep putting you under, keep infusing you with ketamine in the metaverse, and it'll never affect you. Burying this deeply in your subconscious and your unconscious, it'll never affect you, right? But that's what Rick Goblin was saying. So
Wow. I mean, it's really insane. I mean, this new step with the ketamine and the Oculus stuff, there's like, I don't know if you saw the article, but like they're giving them out to prisoners here in the state of California. And I can only imagine what's going to go wrong. Like, this is going to create a whole new set of Mansons, or what is it? What's the guy who started the Hearst thing? It was
it's literally modern day MK Ultra,
yeah,
right? To
yeah, I
the
think it is.
masses, digital MK Ultra, for lack of a better word,
Yeah, I think
right?
that, and these are the people who would be willing to do it too. Like, they have the morals of a leper, they're moral lepers, so they would definitely not be above like torturing or screwing with the brains of unwitting, really, subjects in these. They're not. They probably don't have access to information like you and I talk about. Like, they don't know. So it's like, oh, I'll just
No,
put
they're
this
they're
thing on.
selling it where I
Yeah.
live in Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is near Fort Bragg, right? There's an infusion ketamine clinic there, and they're selling it as a mental health treatment for soldiers.
It's just incredible. Strange, incredible days. Strange, incredible days. TNR Cat Lady says, "Thank you, great guest." So you have another fan, John. Um, it's just that this whole network is really makes you feel uncomfortable. Like, I'm super uncomfortable with this guy Brock Pierce around, and he's another like person with these rich guy with a compound. Like, he started a compound in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So like that's the new move now. Is like, I think Elon Musk has a compound in Texas. So these guys are preparing like the future is going to be grim, and they're protecting and shielding themselves. And so that should be, I think that's very telling. They're pessimists for the future of society. But these people are all in power. So their network Tether and this crypto and Brock Pierce
Brock
and
Pierce being one of the
Deal.
first investors into Bitcoin and later the Ethereum crowd sell. And it's interesting enough, you could actually type in the Federalist Society, and Brock Pierce will actually his photo and his biography will actually pop up on the Federalist Society, meaning he's spoken to the Federalist Society, or at least has some sort of kind of involvement with the Federalist Society, which is kind of steering a lot of the Supreme Court judges put forth by the Council for National Policy, right? So there you go, Brock Pierce, chairman of the Bitcoin Foundation. So you have kind of like this CMP connection through the Federalist Society directly to Brock Pierce.
It's incredible. This guy's history. So, but this is like the Federal Society is supposed to be the kind of apex conservative legal community, with other things. Like, there was some kind of freak out about the Inns of Court online. They don't understand the American legal system's ties back to England, but this is more disturbing. Is Pierce being at the Federalist Society. These guys didn't do their homework. You're right. Due diligence. No way.
I guess none of them done. I guess it's like
No.
Lawrence E. King, the Franklin scandal, keep getting jobs with kids. I guess nobody did their due diligence.
What's even scarier is if they do know, and then this is my boy.
Which is
Come on
probably
in.
true. Maybe in some cases they may know.
Yeah.
I mean, they may be okay with it. The United Nations has numerous human rights allegations and sex trafficking allegations and pedophile allegations against the United Nations and the peacekeeping forces. So,
No, in New York City too. I think it was tied to Roy Cohn, and they were delivering teen boys to the United Nations. Like there was a significant trade. I remember that. It was in the news in the 80s, if I remember correctly, around when Trump was on his way up.
So there, and you have the around that time, Trump, working directly with Roy Cohn, and I believe later casting Roy Cohn off to the side because of the HIV/AIDS scare, should I say, not scandal, and Roy Cohn contracting AIDS and HIV and later supposedly dying of it. And so Trump, him still living in Trump Tower and Trump still paying him, but Trump not wanting to have anything to do with him anymore, which kind of reminds me of them having a sexual relationship with one another. And did Roy Cohn groom Donald Trump? I mean, you have the picture of the Studio 54 Trump dressed up as a Roman centurion made to look like a pretty boy, with Roy Cohn and them partying at Studio 54, right? So, I mean, I don't know. It's something I speculate, but it does seem to line up with it.
Cohn was really incredible guy, man. Really incredible. And total, homosexual too. Like this kind of world. This is really disturbing. Pierce sponsored the NYPD Gaming Trucks Initiative, building inroads between police and the communities they serve. Wow. United Council of Rising Nations, frequent lecturer at Singularity University. So like he's a total futurist too. This is wild. And all these different companies he's involved in. Dio, GoCoin, Blade Payments, 5 Delta. That's NASDAQ. I mean, this guy's like a little Teal or something. It's really remarkable.
So another thing is he ran for president in 2020. He had brought forth kind of like his America 2.0 platform that embraced technology as a futurist. He also said that he would institute a universal basic income, which Elon Musk has also said that he's a fan of as well too. And so very interestingly enough, the people that endorsed Brock Pierce, including the American venture capitalist investor Tim Draper, as well as conspiracist, quote unquote, former WWE professional wrestler, an American politician, as the former governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, endorsed Brock Pierce in his 2020 presidential campaign as well too.
Crazy. This is so wild. This is strange. These days are really strange. There he is. Endorsed Pierce. Yeah. So, and then a Senate campaign, huh? He's run Vermont against Leahy.
Yes. It never really truly came to fruition, if I remember. He was considered doing it, but I don't think he ended up fully going forth on it. So I mean, there's more. I mean, there's probably more, I could think of. But Brock Pierce definitely is someone not to be trusted at all, period. And he's definitely in as a technocrat, as a member, as a billionaire, member of the elite. And like I said, the more you look, the more you find with him. That is for sure.
Wow. And I remember this Egan lawsuit. This guy came out and he had a lawsuit against these guys. I think 2014. Wow. Yeah, I remember reading about that. It was before Epstein, the whole Epstein stuff. I got to look into see the Pierce connections to Epstein, because somebody online says that it's there. Like I don't know. I can't verify that, but that would be
it would not surprise me at all.
It wouldn't surprise me either. And people can read more about Brian Singer or listen to it on your We've Read the Documents YouTube channel. So all that research is 5 years ago, and people can check that out. But this is a technocrat. This is a guy involved in a child sex trafficking network under Den. I think that's proven in court. There's been civil suits. There's been judgments. And there he is, like hobnobbing with people in the Trump administration. We've got tons of pictures. And then Ian Carroll is associated with this club, Maha. That's right there. Like it's a freaking adjacent to this guy, Brock Pierce. There's no question about it. This guy comes out of nowhere.
In searching Brock Pierce and Jeffrey Epstein, you get Boltzmann booty. Shout out to Boltzmann again. Elon Musk used to attend parties at the house of Al Skeckel, the husband of Isabel Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's sister. Skeckel facilitated the connection between Jeffrey Epstein and Brock Pierce. And it says John Edwards, a retired Air Force engineer who danced in 2 Michael Jackson videos and won $100,000 on a short-lived ABC show called Dance Machine, first met Skeckel through a series of Southern California atheist groups, and for time the two were close friends. Edward remembers meeting at Skeckel's parties Tesla and SpaceX founder Elon Musk, drone pioneer Paul McCrady, magician and MacArthur fellow James Amazing Randi, and actor Dudley Moore. So that's interesting in and of itself. And then we have Gumby also mentioning that Bannon, who again, met with Epstein, supposedly interviewed Epstein, also had the child predator George Nader, convicted child predator, who worked directly with CNP Eric Prince and Blackwater at the White House 12 times. No, 13 times. So, I mean, it's all just together. It's all incestuous.
Nexus. Yeah. Wow. Crazy world, man. Bannon's friends with like Knights of Malta dudes. I mean, Bannon's really networked. He's something else. But there's like a lot of uncomfortable with this technocrats and what they're really up to and the amount of money they've got. Like the influence is really off the charts. And I think they're buying assets or influencing assets in the alternate media, if not just developing them out of whole cloth, whether they glow or whether they're financed by wealthy people. Like it's interesting. It's interesting what they do. What you've noticed is like there's certain subjects they'll cover the conspiracy subjects, but there's certain subjects they will never touch. So I doubt off of Eugene Carroll's mouth he'll never touch Thiel or Pierce or any of these kind of technocrats. He'll just cover other conspiracy things that have already been tread over too. So like none of this research that he's doing is really that original, which I think is also telling. So, but
yeah, and something we also just had discussed as well too is Joseph Flatley, who wrote for a Feld State Update blog, which was financed by hold on, I want to make sure.
Field State sounds really familiar.
I mean, I just want to make sure.
People gave me a hard time. I had Flatley on my show. We covered, what was it? Asiana Man. I forgot what the show was. A guy who was he was basically a new ager. And people were like, why
Gabriel Urantia?
Gabriel Urantia. Yeah, that's right. That's the guy that his book was about. But yeah, then you sent me that link of like, he was on a show with Lucian Greaves, right?
Yeah, so it was and we'll talk about that in a minute. It was Flatley's Feld State Update blog that was being platformed by Roundtable.io, which was Brock Pierce. So Flatley was being pushed by Brock Pierce kind of I want to say like journalist or writer incubator type blog group. Right. You mentioned Flatley writing a book kind of going against kind of saying repressed memories are all fake with this satanic Satanist Lucian Greaves, right? And Flatley writing about the finders, whitewashing the finders, and costing me my interview with Ramon J. Martinez from the United States Customs Department. Flatley inadvertently cost me that interview. So, Flatley has followed my work. I know he's still following my work. His book on the finders was canceled. It was going to be published, I believe, I want to say by Feral House, if I remember correctly. Wow. It never came to fruition. I don't know why it never came to fruition. I don't know if it's because my research in the finders would show any research that he was doing as a limited hangout. That being said, though, I've never had any direct interaction with Flatley himself. though I have, various concerns of Flatley with Brock Pierce and Feral House, and as you had mentioned earlier, Lucian Greaves, working directly with Lucian Greaves to kind of push the narrative that false memory syndrome is a real thing, right?
They're false memories, right?
Yes, exactly.
False memory syndrome found as the FMSF, right? That was the group that was together that had Jolly and West on it. Like I would think I would discredit the whole thing just by having him as like a named member. I mean, who were also involved, I think, in McMartin and all this other stuff. Like, and they went after Ellen Lachter on this show too. What happened to Porkins Policy Radio? What was that guy's name? I forgot his name.
I don't remember, but for him to platform Flatley and Lucius Greaves together for Flatley's book, Satan Goes to a Mind Control Convention, that he wrote with Lucian Greaves, kind of pushing the satanic panic narrative and, saying it's all false memories and stuff like that. And everything is them going to a conference exposing institutionalized pedophilia and kind of mocking it and stuff like that and everything. Lucian Greaves, co-founder of the Satanic Temple. It's just disgusting to me. It's just disgusting. And Flatley claims to be a Catholic. I seriously doubt that. So Flatley probably will watch this. I know he's aware of my work. I want to thank him for publishing some finders information on Fail State Update in his book, and him, kind of giving me more insight, interviewing some of the finders. I will thank him for that, because he did help me in some cases in writing my book as far as presenting information. But he is wrong to think that the finders were up to board and they were just some sort of hippie cult commune, that any of the conspiracy allegations against them were untrue. It's just, it's completely flat out false.
Yeah, they were networked, very heavily networked, like almost like an incredible group of people and incredible people involved in all that stuff. Like, it's really a really remarkable group, the finders, and remarkable not in a good way, but just like it kind of gives, like, the researching the finders gives me that unnerving feeling, like researching Brock Pierce and all of his connections. Like, I think that's the right word that I would use, is unnerved, like low level disturbed. But John, we are at the 50-minute mark. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Or
I think that's really about it, William. I definitely, if people see anything about Brock Pierce, I would, keep a tab of it. You're welcome to send me. We've read the documents at protonmail.com. I don't know everything about Brock Pierce, but I have been following him for a very long time. I think he's a sketchy futurist. He hangs out with a lot of sketchy people. He's got a lot of powerful connections, funding a lot of Chabad Lubavitch, for example, Eric Adams, Michael Flynn, Stephen Ketamine Bannon, etc. I would keep tabs on Brock Pierce. He's definitely not our guy. I think he's in on it. I think, it is very likely that he's continuing these institutionalized pedophilia networks, or within these institutionalized pedophilia networks, and excusing these institutionalized pedophilia networks at bare minimum. He's definitely not our guy in the slightest bit. I think that he's going to be influential in pushing the coming technocracy.
I think you're right. I think he's just added to the mix of all the other people that we've covered, right? Teal, Musk, Andreessen. I mean, he's just another one of these guys in there. It's just like, wow. And they're all in the Trump administration. It's such a strange kind of new environment that we're in, and he's part of it. But where can people find your stuff, John? I know you've been publishing on your Substack too, very frequently recently, right?
Yeah, you can find my work on We've Read the Documents on YouTube. We've read the documents on Odyssey. We've read the documents on Substack and Patreon. If anybody wants to donate, buy me a coffee /We've Read. But yeah, I've been publishing on my Substack, my videos, my content's there, my Finder's book as well too. Hopefully I will have it out very soon. I'm working very hard on it currently. I want to thank everybody, who's supported my work, and anybody who's listened. And thank you for having me on again, William. Again, I'm a shameless plug you, brother. Proud Patreon member of William Ramsey's Patreon. I definitely recommend everybody go subscribe to your Patreon. Thank you for your body of work and your friendship and your mentorship, William. It's been greatly appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you can check out my Patreon. You can watch the shows Ad free, guys, for $5 a month. You can watch all the stuff. Like this show will go up there today. So people, I mean, that's one. I get two main complaints, John. I get one, my audio's bad, and two, they're sick of the ads from whether it's Spotify pushing them or Spreaker. And I don't blame you. And I think there's a better model for people making content other than relying on some of these big companies to push these ads all the time. And that is kind of a subscription model, like a Patreon. So people, that's part of maybe a different website. Patreon for me was a legacy app. Like I signed up for it 10 years ago. Like, I don't know if I'd be on there, but that subscription, I think I think it's reasonable to pay $1 for an hour-long show or something to that cost. So if you're only paying $5 and you get more than 5 hours of content a month, I think it's reasonable. You pay over $5 for a cup of coffee now at Starbucks. So put things in proportion, support your local content creators who aren't affiliated like some of these other people. You don't know who's pulling their strings. They're not independent, guys. And also share the shows too. If you really like the work of somebody you're listening to, not just me or John, please share their shows because it's really a form of advertising. A lot of us don't have. A lot of us are really truly independent. We don't have a
Correct.
team or somebody else who's, social media, in a social media chair or something. So if you really like the work of anybody, feel free to hit that share button too. But again, it's John Brisson. I think we're at like 25 episodes. They've all been great. So you can go back through my catalog and check out some of the other Brisson shows. I was looking through, I think we did our first show like 5 years ago. It's unbelievable. 5 or 6 years ago on the Finders. And I'm sure there'll be more episodes to go. So check out John. We've read the documents. Patreon. I'll put all his links in here. And again, this title, I think what I'll retitle this, Brock Pierce, Den, and the Present Technocracy. And again, it's John Brisson. We've read the documents. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, William.
All right, let's do that.